Everybody, it is great to see all of you this morning. What a wonderful morning it is. What a wonderful time it is to be with the Eastern Pennsylvania Conference. I am so excited to hear all the energy from the webinar. Um, I want to thank all those persons that got everything started. I want to thank Don Taylor Storm for her energy and all that she brought into getting this started. Thank you for the team that has been helping prepare all of this, Lindsay Cotman, Regina Babcott, and I want to thank Evelyn Kent Clark, as she and I have been communicating together and made things possible for me to spend this morning with you. So it's great to see everybody. I'm excited to get started. If I may just share some opening housekeeping, and then I'll get started, and I'll take the first moment as we begin our presentation to introduce myself. For all persons, please make sure that you are muted. And if there's an opportunity that anybody would like to share something as we're talking, please don't hesitate to stop or ask a question. If you want to raise your hand, if you go down to the bottom of your Zoom screen, press reactions, then you have the opportunity to raise a hand, and I will do my best to call on you. And please don't hesitate if there's something burning, say, Paul, hold on, I've got a question, or also utilize the chat. I will be looking in the chat if you have any questions or desire any communications within the chat as well. So with someone here that's going to help make me a host so that we can have our breakout groups. Somebody joined on for that? Okay, well, hopefully somebody will join on, and we'll take a moment to have some breakout groups. And if not, we'll just do it with us. There's about 42 of us on, and we can take an opportunity and have some time to share while we go through our presentation this morning. It is, again, great to be with you. I'm going to share my screen. And let me ask, can everybody see my screen? Yep. Well, you can put your thumbs up, you can take yourself off mute and say, we got it, Paul. Fantastic. It looks like everybody is able to view it. And again, if you have any problems or have any questions, you can certainly make sure that you put something in the chat. So as I share, and can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up, everybody hear me okay? All right, fantastic. Well, I want to welcome everybody to our presentation today on strategic partnerships. I welcome the Eastern Pennsylvania Conference of the United Methodist Church. It's a great joy to be with you. Today, we're going to talk about strategic partnerships. We will first have an introduction. I will just let you hear a little bit about myself so that you know who I am. Then we'll talk about why do we have a partner. We will talk about what does a partner do. We will talk about how do I develop partners. We'll talk about types of partners, and then we'll have our conclusion for a time when we can ask any questions. And so that is how we will proceed today. I'm excited to get started. I want to share with you a little bit about myself. From the 70s to the 90s, I grew up in Chicago, the great Windy City. Was born and raised there. I spent my time growing up there and experiencing the cold weather and the snowy weather, as some of you have seen up north there. And I experienced a great time growing up. I was the baby of 4 boys. And my parents had my 2 oldest brothers, 17 and 19 years older than me. And then I have my next oldest brother that's a year and a half. So he and I grew up in Chicago. I grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic elementary school, went to a Catholic high school. Ended up getting a scholarship to play college football, which I'll share with you shortly. But I enjoyed my time growing up in Chicago. And I'm a big Cubs fan. I'm a sports fan. So I'm a huge Cubs fan, White Sox fan too. My father took us to both. But I spent a lot of time going to baseball and sports events. And so it's a little about me in my early part of growing up. And then, as I mentioned, I was blessed to go to Iowa State University on a football scholarship, and I majored in architecture. As you see the graphics down there, I just wanted a chance to major in architecture. I was told that it's very difficult to do that and play college football, but I just wanted a chance. And as I went through and had a chance, when I got done with it, I thought to myself, wow, I see why everybody was trying to steer me not to do this, because it was quite difficult to mix those classes along with everything that I did with football. But over that experience, I learned a lot. And then as I started to grow, I went back for some graduate courses, and I was advised that you really need to work in architecture, see if that is something that you want to do. And so then I moved to Atlanta. This is where I got my first architecture job. And I found warm weather, which I was looking for after growing up in Chicago. And I also found sweet tea. So I was looking for both of those, and I found them down here in Atlanta. And again, I'm a big sports fan, so I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, still a Cubs fan. You can't take that away from me. But I do follow the Atlanta Braves and all of our sports teams here. And then in 2007, in between that time, I received my call to ministry. And in that call, the Lord told me that I'm changing my building of buildings and changing that to building of people. And so I accepted my call to ministry. And then I have the next part of 2010 to now, which is when I started my first appointment. And as you see the little peaches there on this short map of Metro Atlanta, those represent all of my moments in the Methodist Church. I ended up in a wonderful experience where God led me to the Methodist Church and found it to be somewhat like Catholicism as far as its structure, fit more where I was, but yet I was looking for something more Pentecostal and with a little more flavor. And I found that in the Methodist Church. And so where you see the number 1, that's from Ben Hill United Methodist, where I had this wonderful experience that brought me in the Methodist Church. And then also my 6 years as a youth pastor at Cascade after Ben Hill. Then number 2, I was appointed, my first appointment in 2010 was at St. James United Methodist Church. And then my next appointment was number 3. I was the lead pastor of a church plant. I was the second lead pastor. We ended up having to close the church. And then appointed up in Fort to Gwinnett, which is Snellville United Methodist Church. That was my first cross-cultural appointment, and there in Snellville. And then I was appointed back down here to Impact Church, where I am currently there serving as the connections pastor. There is someone that's not muted. If I can ask, okay, I was able to mute you there. So please make sure, y'all, if you do find yourself off mute, if you could make sure that you be able to mute yourself. So I wanted to share that with you so you get an idea of who I am, what my experiences have been. And Impact, as the connections pastor, I deal with everything that has to do with connections. And so I'm on the executive leadership team, and I provide support for our membership, which we call it Involve. Provide support for our, our volunteers are called Involve. Our membership is called Ignite. Provide leadership for that. Provide leadership for our imprint groups, which is our small groups. And then I provide leadership for our hospitality, which is our guest services, first-time visitors, and our hosts. Provide leadership for our sacraments, our baptism and Holy Eucharist. And I provide leadership for our Impact Give Back, which is our outreach, and for our Impact Online, which is our digital virtual ministry. And so anything that has to do with connections. Oh, and forgot one more thing. I provide leadership for our care ministry, which is all of our caring for the congregation and our celebrations of life. And so wanted you to get a chance to know who I am so that you have an idea of all of my experiences and what I'll share during these moments of strategic partnerships, or all that I've learned throughout the course of my opportunity moving through ministry in the different places, and then all that's happened in the last 4 years as we are doing ministry at Impact. We thank God for the blessings at Impact. Pre-COVID, we were averaging between 1,800 and 2,000 people every Sunday in our 3 experiences. We call them experiences, not services. So for 8, 10, and 12, we are experiencing 1,800 to 2,000 persons attending worship. And then what we're experiencing online was about 1,500 or so online. And then during COVID, during this pandemic season, we're experiencing between 5,000 and 6,000 persons visiting our streaming audience for our 8 and 10 and 12 experience. And then we have a 10 o'clock drive-in experience where we come outside and we have worship outside, and persons drive up, stay in their car in social distancing measures. And what happens is we have worship outside. And so people are able to, come outside, and they're able to have worship outside, and they're be able to experience that in a great and wonderful way. And so we're excited about that, and we're excited about ministry. So for this moment in strategic partnerships, as you got an idea of who I am, then what we'll share with you now is based off of my experiences. So we asked the question, why do we have a partner? A partner in ministry puts all the pieces together, or it helps put pieces together of all the different things that we desire to do in ministry. I'd like to remind us of 1 Corinthians 12:14, which says, even so, the body is not made up of one part, but many. So extending that beyond the body of Christ that we have, that we see pre-COVID every day, or we see however we see it now. The body is everybody. And so a partnership kind of helps us get connected with the body. Number one, it extends our effectiveness in ministry. Our task in fulfilling the Great Commission is to go out and make disciples. And so what happens with partnerships is it broadens our reach to people, and it extends our opportunity to make a difference. It extends our opportunity to see different things happen in ministry. It also creates opportunities for our resources. We all know that the local church cannot survive on tithes and offerings. Partnerships bring possibilities for multiple streams of financial resources. We have found at Impact, I found over the years that the opportunity, the more that you can create partnerships, the more that you can make partnerships, creates better opportunities to help us extend our ministry. And the third thing it does, it builds connections. Y'all, we can't do this alone. As we try to make ministry happen, as we dream about the things that we want to do, then we can't make sure that we can't do it alone. I see something in the chat that somebody needs to be muted. I'm going to try my best. There we go. Okay, we got everybody muted. Thank you for communicating that in the chat. So it builds connection. There's probably somebody doing the things that we would like to do, or that we hear what God telling us to do. And what a partnership does is it helps us carry out the vision. It helps us do the things that we desire to do in ministry. So as we put the pieces together, what does a partner do? So keeping in mind, the body is made up of one part, but it's many. So what a partner does, it matches gifts with our purpose. So a partner takes their gifts in what they do, and the churches match it with their vision and purpose. The church takes their gifts and partner, matches it with their purpose. So what does that mean, y'all? We think it's a give and take. We think about what it is and we pray about what it is that we desire to do in ministry. And we think about what it is that we do well. And then we look for a partner that is doing that also. Let's say that we really want to make a difference in feeding persons in our area. If that's something in our area that is lacking, then we find a partner that has resources to produce food. Then we work on finding that partner to then help us do ministry. We can't do it alone, and there's opportunities out there that are available. I'm asking all of us to dream and to think about what kind of gifts you have as a church, what kind of gifts that God has given to your body, and then match that with partners that are around you. Here's what else that can happen. It's a financial resource. Back to the point that we can't do it all alone. A partner is able to provide support for ministry initiatives. It's an in-kind service provider. And I'm going to get in our next slide, I'm going to explain more and then invite you to join in the conversation. A partner provides materials and or products to carry out ministry. And then it creates a form of evangelism. Y'all, evangelism is more than just us going out and spreading the gospel. It's about us getting connected to people so that the opportunity comes to spread the message. We might not talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ with someone until we've had numerous conversations, numerous times when we've been in somebody's presence and just getting to know them. But then the opportunity comes to when it's time for evangelism. So let me unpack that a little bit more. Let me share with you Impact's partners. And this is over the last year, the partners that we have had and that we've communicated with and that we've built relationships with that have helped us do the things that we'd like to do in ministry. So we began a weekly food distribution. Impact doesn't have a refrigerator to keep food or to store it. We don't have the opportunity to store non-perishable or perishable products. So we began a relationship with the Atlanta Food Bank. So it was on Mondays for 2020. Now in 2021, it's every Thursday. Atlanta Food Bank provides food weekly in our food distribution. We found a way to pick it up, bring it to our site, and then we have persons come drive through and pick up food. It's social distance measures. We greet them. We love on them from outside the car. We have them open up their trunk. We put the food in. Along with that, Common Market. Common Market is another partner that they have a grant to provide produce. And as we began our partnership with them, then weekly we provide fruits and vegetables for food distribution. Action Ministries, that's part of the Methodist Church. We have a summer lunch program to where we've provided summer lunches for 4 different neighborhoods in our neighboring community. Action Ministries provides the physical lunch, and we provide the volunteers to bag the lunch, put it together, and be able to deliver it. CORE, that's our COVID-19 testing. We became a testing site for the 8 months of the 2020 time period during the pandemic season. People came to either walk up or drive through, came to our site, were able to stay in their car, have CORE professionals and healthcare professionals provided by CORE to then administer COVID-19 testing. City of East Point, government, we had a Thanksgiving community event and a polling site. Arden's Garden provided healthy juices. Georgia Stand Up, community canvassing. Robocalls, which was an opportunity for us to reach out to the community. Volunteer support, voter registration. We were able to be an election site. And now coming up with Fulton County government, we were a vaccine site. So what I want to ask everyone is, if you notice, Impact Church is not listed there as one of the providers. Everything that provided for our ministry was from a partner that we came in contact with. So I want to take a moment now, and let me just ask anyone, do you have any initial questions as we've talked about partnerships, and I've given you an idea of the kind of partners that Impact has utilized over these last couple of years. Anybody have any questions? You can unmute yourself and just shout it out, or anything that you want to share as a response to what we've talked about so far. All right.
I have a question, or
yes.
just curious. Yeah. So I'm Carmen O'Shea. I'm from Paoli United Methodist Church. Just curious if you all have sought these partnerships out, or if they have come to you, and kind of what the resource requirements are in coordinating everything. And maybe you'll get to that.
Great question, Carmen. We're going to get to that in a little bit. It's a little bit of both.
Okay, perfect.
It's a little bit of both on how we developed a plan and program, how to do that. Excellent question. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Because we're getting ready to do a little exercise in helping us.
I have a question, and
yes, please.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this. The church that I'm about to go to is zoned residential, which has been a problem with trying to make some partnerships. Do you have any suggestions for churches that have that issue?
So the church where you're going is zoned residential?
Yeah.
So, well, one of the first things is that has been helpful for us is if it's residential, you could partner with neighborhood associations.
Okay.
You know, as you develop, as you come into this area and you learn about the different neighborhoods that are around or close to you, one of the partners that we have is with our Martell and Hurd homes. That's one of the East Point, the city that we're located in. That's one of the housing developments in East Point. And so we partnered with the East Point city officials and the East Point Housing Authority to then work through some opportunities where we can provide ministry to the Martell and Hurd and Longview homes which are all part of that East Point Housing Authority. So you can partner with housing authorities.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great question.
Would you tell me about robocalls a little bit more?
Sure, I will. So, and this is part of developing relationships with a partnership. So as we develop the relationship, alluding to Carmen's question, what Georgia Stand Up does is Georgia Stand Up is in the community, and it helps people prepare for voting. It helps people for low income housing. It helps people prepare for jobs. And so part of what they have is robocalls, which they have technological devices to where they can find out cell phone numbers of people in the community. And then as they give us those cell phone numbers, then that's put into a robocall, which sends a message to all of the cell phone numbers, kind of like school systems do it. I don't know if the Pennsylvania school system sends out robocalls and alerts about whether a storm is coming or alerts what's going to happen in the school. Well, then a robocall will then alert the community about what we're doing at Impact or what we're looking to do. And so Georgia Stand Up has the capability to do that. And as we partnered with them, then they were able to provide us with the opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, great questions. So Carmen, here you go. How do I develop partners? What happens for us to develop our partnerships, and how do we make that happen? I want to share with you this picture. You know, there's a reason that I chose this graphic as all the pictures that are represented. This graphic, what does this make you think of? Let me just ask that question. What does this make you think of as you see this? Anybody?
Include young people, they know technology better.
Okay, great. Include young people, technology. What else?
Networking.
Networking, fabulous. Anything else?
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, very good. Excellent, excellent. Great answers. So networking, providing relationships. So as we think about partners, here's a process that we found. This actually comes out of one of the resources which is listed in the deck. It's the I Care method. And this is all about building relationships. So in other words, Carmen, you can't just go up to somebody and just say, hey, you want to partner. You can't just go up to somebody and say, well, this is what we want to do as a church. Our work, y'all, starts way beyond before we get to the point of engaging in what we want to do as a partner. So the I Care message starts off with the integrity of the requester. And so that's us. As we start off, our integrity of meeting people is meeting people so that we can generate relationships, meeting people so that we can generate friendships, meeting people so that we can generate getting to know persons. So as you get to know persons in your congregation, persons that might know someone outside of the congregation, persons that might know what the mission is of the church and where God has led you to be, then the integrity of the question is all of us trying to build relationship, build reasons why we're trying to get to know somebody, which is simply just to know them. And then C is the capacity of the petition. So as we get to know someone, let me give an example. I meet Carmen. I find out that she is a manager at Home Depot. As we get to talking, our whole goal, y'all, as we are building disciples, as we are evangelism, if you go back and remember what we talked about that partnerships can do, as we are meeting someone, then you start to see, well, how do they fit in with the vision? How do they fit in with helping minister to the people in ways that we can provide outreach? And so then where the A comes is their alignment of mission. So then when it starts to be an opportunity where there's a possible partner, then the opportunity becomes where you ask the question, is it an alignment in the mission that I am trying to do? Not everybody can be a partner with all churches. Not everybody can be a partner in what you desire to do. It depends on whether there's an alignment of whether it works. And then as you get to know a partner, they have their gifts. Remember, we talked about partners have gifts and they have talents that they're going to then merge with the church. Part of the way that they want to execute their gift might not be the way that you want to do it within your church. That's okay. It just means that they don't align with their mission. So then they don't become one of the partners that you are connected with to then help you fulfill your mission. Then the continuation comes of relationship of all parties. You start to get to know more and more about an individual partner. You start to get to know more and more about what they do. You start to know more about how it aligns with mission. Then you build the relationship, which then leads you to the engagement of progression. In other words, that's the ask. That's when it's time to say, hey, this is what we're doing at our church. This is what we're doing in the community. How about an opportunity for us to work together? So let me give an example. I want to go back to this slide right here. As we have a lot of these partners, Carmen, this is to your question. Do we go to partners or do partners come to you? Common Market and Arden's Garden are partners that saw what was happening because of Atlanta Food Bank, and then they came to us. We've had persons that have come from our congregation and said, hey, I want to start a food drive. Why? Because they saw what Atlanta Food Bank and Impact Church was doing together. So once you begin the opportunity of creating relationships, once you begin the opportunity of aligning with mission, once you begin the opportunity of then making the ask, then God just kind of puts things in place. So now with Fulton County being our vaccine site, because CORE is connected to Fulton County, then Fulton County realized that Impact was a site for testing. So then they reached out to us and they said, would you be interested in being a site for vaccines? And so now the opportunity comes in another week or so, we're going to be able to provide vaccines to the people in the community. So it kind of works both ways. It kind of works as an opportunity for you to build relationships, and it works as an opportunity for others to see what you're doing. Now, I know some of us are in large churches, some of us are in smaller churches. I'm asking you all to dream about all of the partners that are around you, all of the opportunities there are of persons that can build relationships, and then think about what that might be for you. So I want us to take a moment, take about 3 minutes, and I want everybody to generate a list and see how many you can come up with of persons in or around your congregation, whether that's somebody that you know in your congregation or whether that's a company or a business around you that you think might be a potential partner or somebody that will be vested in your interest. Take a moment now, write that down, and then we'll share in a moment. Give you about another minute. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute and let me hear some thoughts. Unmute yourself and share what you come up with.
High school across the street.
High school across the street, excellent.
Still abundance.
Say it again.
Still abundance.
That's the name of a company?
It is an organization that distributes unused food.
Excellent, excellent. Barbara, let me ask you, have you been in connection with them?
We have not.
Excellent, excellent. So that's an opportunity as we think about anybody that's around us. And again, that's the integrity of the requester then starts your initiating contact, which is not, hey, I want to be a partner with you. It's, hey, you know, I'm from, you know, this church and just wanted to get a chance to, you know, meet together, well, it's COVID now, but let's jump on a Zoom together. Let me share with you a little bit about myself. Let me hear a little bit about you. That's the way that it starts. And then it moves then into the capacity of the petition, which is understanding the capacity of what somebody may have to help you accomplish ministry. Again, all we're trying to do is be effective in ministry, which partnerships help us do. We can't do this all by ourselves. And so there's a host of a world out there. What I'm asking all of you to do is look out at your mission field, not just in your individual church. Look out in your mission field, which is everything that's around you or everything that's close to you. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a large church or a small church, whatever your context is, wherever God is leading you to be in ministry, there's somebody out there that you can build relationship with that has the opportunity to help. Let's get somebody else. Any other thoughts?
We have a teacher in our congregation that works in Chester, and it's more of an underprivileged area where I think there's they provide meals, lunches for students, and I think there's some opportunities that she's brought to the table where our church in Paoli can help. We haven't acted on it yet, but I think that's a relationship. There's some opportunities there.
Excellent. Schools are crying out for help for all of us. Doesn't matter what school system or what state you're in, schools are crying out for help. And any way that we can offer help can certainly be an asset to ministry. And again, we're trying to go out and build disciples. We have always done, this isn't an indictment on anybody. This is just a fact. We have done such a great job with people in church that have always been in church. But we are called to a world that continues to grow and to a world that is looking for Jesus Christ. And so making our way into that with initial conversations, initial building relationships is an opportunity for us to then build on our partnership with the I care message. I'm sure all of you can answer the question, I care. And so as you can all answer that question, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing if you didn't care. And so as you answer that question, then that develops your work process as you get to know partners, as you get to know those that they can help you fulfill ministry. Great. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Carmen. Anybody else? Would you come
Yes, we would like to affiliate with our neighborhood police department, the neighborhood association, beauty parlors and barbershops.
Excellent. Excellent. Have you reached out to those?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So now you have a greater opportunity because so what I hope to provide for you is kind of a plan that that you walk through and begin with just an opportunity of getting to know. You might reach out and speak to one of the police officers, Sister Stovall, and you might not talk about anything that you're doing as a church. You just might get an opportunity to talk to them. And then as you continue that progression, you'll be excited to find how God can work in that progression to then help you start to develop things to help your ministry.
Thank you.
That's how it's happened for us at Impact. We have persons that have become impactors. We call our members impactors. We have persons that have become impactors because of our relationship. We've had persons that have just started to attend Impact because of our relationship. We've had persons that have become members of other churches because of relationships with Impact. Because as we extended the area, and somebody might not be close to us as a church, but as they're close to us and see what we're doing in the community, that gives them an idea of what Christ is doing in their life, and it gives them an opportunity to evangelize in other ways. It's all about continuing to build relationship, and the I care method is a way that helps us become patient. It helps us stay on task, and then it helps us again create opportunities and resources for ministry. Here's the thing, y'all. As we think about funding, as I mentioned, what partnerships are an opportunity for funding, people give when they see ministry, when they are able to view what happens. It's amazing what has happened for us. Is, the word says the harvest is plentiful. Lord, send them from the harvest. It's been amazing how many people have now come to be involved in ministry and how many partners, because we began the food distribution. We began the food distribution because we found one of the gaps in our community and one of the things that needed assistance. So then when we found what needed assistance and we started making ways to make that happen, Common Market, Arden's Garden, we've even had farmers, y'all, come, and we had Farmer Odell. He's from Odell Farms. It's an hour away from Impact in South Georgia. He came every other week, and he brought watermelons. He brought sweet potatoes. He brought collard greens. He brought a host of things that we could add into the boxes for food distribution. We didn't ask him to do that. He found out what was happening at Impact, and then he was touched enough to be able to do it. One of our House of Representatives for the state of Georgia, Roger Bruce, saw what was happening in ministry. He would come every Monday morning and he would bring 10 to 15 breakfast packages for all of the volunteers so that they could have breakfast packages to help them. Y'all, if we dream about the opportunities are before us and we trust that God will provide, it's amazing what will happen as we develop partnerships. Partnerships help you make ministry happen. And then when ministry happens and people see it, then that's what brings people. And I'm not talking about bringing hundreds of people. Who knows if that happens? Whatever your context may be, I'm talking about building with enough people that they can then help you fulfill your ministry. Anybody else want to share what they thought about?
Paul,
We're about a block away from the largest hospital in our community.
Come on,
And
Susan.
That would be a wonderful, they have a lot of outreach programs that we could be part of, and I'm sure there are lots of other things we could be doing too.
Absolutely. Excellent example. Excellent. Somebody
Paul,
else. Yes.
comment to the clergy. Like you, I've served 5 congregations, and in one of them, I was brand new to the town, and it was an area I knew absolutely nothing about. And I got our SPR to agree that 5 hours a week, 10% of my time was mine to be out in the community, meeting people and listening and being a part of other organizations. Some congregations I've served wanted the pastor to serve their people and stay connected to their programs. But this particular congregation encouraged me to be out and about in the community, and it was very helpful in building strategic partnerships. And first of all, I had to shut my mouth and listen. And then the people that I was meeting would many times ask me, would your church help us with our programs? A lot of community-minded folk out there. And if the churches would just stop doing to the community and listen to the community, we'd all be a lot better off.
Excellent, Pastor Kiefer. Thank you. You're absolutely right. And that gets back to the eye care method. The first part is the integrity of the requester. And so our integrity is built from, if we're listening to what the community needs, then we know how a partner can provide. We know what the community needs. And we're able to then, as you said, listen, so that then we can start providing a plan and put that in place for what happens. But there's a whole world out there of persons that are involved in opportunities where they have resources to then help us be effective in ministry. Thank you so much. Anyone else? We'll take one more.
Yes, I'd just like to add, amongst those that was mentioned, the Department of Recreation, the program that's in the area, as well as another organization, APM, which is an organization that has community social services as well as daycares, and they're also a development company. So between those two that have not been mentioned, they're a great source of partnerships in my area.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll do now, excellent question, Jacqueline. I'm going to talk about financial support to churches very shortly. And yes, I can share the PowerPoint slides. Absolutely, I will do that.
Before you go, Pastor, let me just challenge everyone on, there's the effort to look at expanding ministries that you're already in, and to as a means of finding out what how you can walk the walk together. And
thank you, Gladys.
In COVID times.
Thank you, Gladys. You went, I don't know if it's just me, but you went out just a little bit. Can you repeat what you said again?
Especially during the COVID pandemic that we're in. If you're already in a ministry with someone or some people, it would be good to reevaluate if you're really doing mission with instead of mission to.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. So can everybody see the screen? Yes, we good? All right. So now that you've walked through the eye care method, you get to the point to when it's time to ask. It's the time that you have built relationship. You talk to, we've heard persons mention about individual companies. We've heard persons ask or talk about schools. We've heard talk about hospitals. We've heard talk about police. We've heard talk about the recreation organizations. So now that you've talked to them, and this is after the point that you've listened. This is after the point that you've done some community canvassing and you asked about what gaps needed to be filled. So this is the time to make a decision as to which partner or partners that you're going to work with. So this is however you want to craft this and do it for yourself, however you want to craft it graphically, however you want to make it so that it makes sense for you. But these are 5 different areas that I've learned to work with to then help center our thoughts and center into our action plan of what's next. First thing is, who is this partner? List of a potential partner. Each time a potential partner is met with or presented to you, list them for future consideration. So you know how that you have times that you have these wonderful conversations and sometimes you forget who it is you talk to, or y'all, you know how it is, you get real busy and you know, Susan, you had a conversation with the hospital, but then all of a sudden you've had persons that have made their transition. You have a couple celebrations of life and then you have a couple other things happen and then Easter comes and then you walk through Easter and then all of a sudden, you know, this great conversation that you had, you forgot about the partner and you forgot about getting back with them. Well, when that moment's come to when you feel like, wow, this is something that God is leading and building in the vision that God has put in me to create, I'm going to list this partner. I'm going to put it on this grid. I might not write anything back here until a while, but I'm going to list it. And so then, John, you can go back to it and always have that partner listed. And then you can start to think about, well, what will this partner do? So we list services the partner will provide, the capacity of each partner. Remember the capacity of those that are petitioned. And so then you would list a record of potential services that the partner can provide. So as God may be leading you in your area to help with literacy and help young students start to read, then you can start to think about a partner that maybe has an after-school program. Then you may have a space to have an after-school program. You don't necessarily have the people to do it, but you have the space to do it. And so then you can think about this partner and start to list here. This particular partner has the opportunity. They already have an established after-school program to where they have volunteers together. They have persons there that help young people to read. We have some space, but we don't have people. So the partner then can provide people. And then you think about what will the church do? So it's a give and take as you work to then establish partnership, as you work to establish what you're going to do, then you start to establish what the partner will do to help, and then what the possibilities is that the church will do. And how do we do this without tying our hands too tightly? A lot of businesses will do a memorandum of understanding, which is not necessarily a legal document, but it's a way for you to then have an understanding of how the both of you will then create this partnership so that one person will realize what they're going to do and you will realize as a church. But then here's what's most important, because what we do a lot with partnerships and as we're building ministry, we forget to think about how do we know that it's working? How do we know what we want to do? How do we know whether or not it's successful? So then the next column, or however you design it, or the next part that you address is the outcome. List desired outcome of the relationship. What would you like to happen partnering with somebody that has an after-school program that is going to help young people to read? What will show you, what are the results that will determine whether or not this partnership is successful? Why do we do that? So that we know whether our ministry is being effective. And then here's the final, does it fit the vision? Do the actions of this entity that you're gathering with and the outcomes align with what you want to do? So I'll give you an example. As I use the literacy program, we at Impact, we realized in our area that our child well-being scores are very low. So the reading scores for our 3rd grade persons and the reading scores for our math scores for our 8th grade students are very low. So we decided that part of our vision is to then address that. And so as we've talked to different partners to help to address that, we've developed great relationships with individual partners that want to help. But there's a particular partner that was only able to help. They were centered on middle to high school students. Well, if we just center on middle to high school students and we forget about the younger age, then that's not helping us prepare those for 3rd grade and prepare them before they get to middle school for 8th grade. So then we had to make a decision. Does that fit our vision? Great partner, great opportunity, but does it fit the vision that we're going to try to do? So then that will help you decide if this is somebody that aligns with your mission. And you've got to be able to decide, great to be in relationship, we can continue to be in relationship, but this might not be one of the partners that we will spend the time to list them, to talk about what goes next, to talk about what we will do, to talk about the outcome, because they don't fit the vision. Okay? So, types of partners. Who can I partner with? So we talked about thinking of, in our partnership discussion that we had a minute ago, thinking about, the reason I had you do that earlier is because I wanted you to dream on your own. And so now what we're going to do is take a minute and we look at these different areas, and I want you to see if you can come up with some other areas that may help you that maybe you didn't think about the first time. So who can we partner with? We can partner with schools, provide mentoring, extended learning, after school support, provide businesses, financial support, in-kind donations, utilization of space, provide other nonprofits, outreach support, in-kind donations, neighborhood associations. And here's something that churches that we don't do a lot, partner with other churches. We just recently had a meeting with about 15 churches in our neighborhood, because what we're desiring to do is there's another partner called SEFCA, which helps prepare people for the workforce in the construction area. Well, we know there's a lot of people in our area that need help in finding places of employment, finding careers to work. So we reached out to churches, and if we're if we're a church that's doing that well and pulling people together, then we can ask the other churches, who do you know in your area? Who do you know in your congregation? And then let's partner. And then that way we can help more than just the persons in our immediate area. We can start helping people in all areas. So whatever one church does well, and partner together to extend the ministry opportunities. In other words, y'all, if we know another church that has a clothes closet and they already are around our area, they are doing an excellent job, why do we need to create a clothes closet too? If that doesn't help us in our ministry, we can partner with that other church. If persons in our church want to give clothes, they can give them to us, and then we give them to the other partnering church to help them in ministry. So these are some potential partners that we can have. So let's take a moment now, and I want you to think again. I want you to dream a little bit more. Think about schools, businesses, other nonprofits in your area. Think about neighborhood associations, and think about churches. And then after this, we're going to get to answering the question, how can other businesses help church financially? So take a moment, look at these individual areas and see if you can come up with any other partnerships.
I think a partnership with your neighborhood colleges, universities, and with your senior groups in the neighborhood.
Who said that? That was excellent.
Sandy Stovall.
Sister Stovall, thank you. Excellent. Excellent. We have a Atlanta Technical College that is right close to us at Impact, and we're working with them to provide GE training because they already have technical programs that they help people prepare for to get them ready for the workforce. So what can we do as a church? Excellent example. What can we do as a church that can help colleges and universities find persons to become educated after post high school or become certified to work in any trades? Excellent. Anybody else?
In our area, I was reappointed to my present church, Ackermanville UMC, about less than 3 years ago, but the partnership was already built around the churches ecumenically beyond the denomination. That in our church, in our area, we have a community free meal that each church takes turn to feed the people who are in need. And for example, our church is the the third Sunday of each month, and then Baptist Church fed the people, for example, on the other Sunday. So people in our community know where to go, when to go. So each Sunday. So that was I think a good example of building partnership among churches.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can build a business directory within your church congregation. You can build a business directory in your neighborhood. And building a business directory, the work comes from that, again, back to our I care, the integrity of the requester. As you are going around finding businesses you might just go around and find a business that lists in your neighborhood and list the things that they do, and then just start to compile a list. And then when you compile the list, then you can start to look at, okay, let me go back to the graphic we had before. Let me go back to my grid. And now I'm starting to find a business that I didn't even know existed. And I can start to list that as somebody that's a potential partner.
Reverend, I'd like to add 2 more partners, financial institutions and politicians.
Absolutely. So say more about financial institutions.
Your neighborhood banks or foundations. I think foundations always need to know about you, and your local neighborhood bank, your bankers, because you never, particularly the bank where you put your money, where your money is deposited. They need to know you and what you're doing.
Absolutely. Guys, hopefully what you realize it's happening here. That's why we call it strategic partners, because it's a strategic plan that then goes about how those partners can help us in ministry. And if you notice, when I talked about what 1 Corinthians says, this is the body, this body that we've been talking about this morning, this is outside of our body of Christ. The body of Christ, called whatever our church is. This is extending the reach of ministry, which then helps us to become more effective. And so it extends our reach outside of our church walls. Again, people want to hear about God. I'm going to talk later at the next presentation about vital worship. People want to hear about God. They don't even know that they want to hear about it. But we are the ones that are tasked to bring that there. But it starts and begins with relationship. And then as we build relationships with partners, again, that helps us be able to fulfill our ministry. Now, the whole idea that we're trying to do this morning is to get you to then start to look at areas in your neighborhood or areas that are around your church, or areas that are close to you, or areas that you have some influence with, that you can start to then think about and building partners with them so that you can do ministry. Great thoughts. Anybody else have anything to add? What you come up with maybe different than the first time we did this exercise?
I have another one, something that I had looked at myself, but I think might be really interesting for a church to be involved in is ministry with the state parks. So providing Sunday morning worship, or even, children's services, Sunday school at an outdoor kind of amphitheater at the state parks for people that are camping over the summer. There's already a full program in Pennsylvania that organizes it, but and I was looking to get involved in that, but it might be something really interesting for churches that are near parks like that, just to help with that kind of outreach and ministerial approach to people that are camping.
Absolutely.
That might not actually be participating in worship on that Sunday because they're outdoors.
Well, and I'm sorry, I didn't get to see who was that, or who was
Oh,
that?
Carmen O'Shea. Yeah, sorry.
Excellent, Carmen. And what you just made me think about is something that I've been thinking about, is what they have. I don't know if they have it as much. I'm sure they do in Pennsylvania, but sports is starting to just get way crazy in the offering opportunities that are for young people that are involved in sports. And so as we have travel sports, travel basketball, travel baseball, parents and families are spending Saturdays and Sundays at the ballpark. And when they spend Sundays, then they don't have an opportunity to participate in worship. Now that we're virtual, they don't even have an opportunity to do that if they're playing an early game. What if there was a partner with those persons that are putting on the tournament and develop a small group on Sunday mornings for persons that are not able to find a place to worship? Then again, it goes back to, what will that partner do? Well, that partner will provide space for a small group to happen. What will you do as a church? You'll provide an opportunity for a small group. You might not get but 10 or so people that come stop by your small group, but can you imagine what would happen if you're sitting outside in a park and you have a place for people to come join at 8 o'clock in the morning for 30, 40 minutes before the games start to happen? And then you're creating an opportunity for people to experience, God through your conversation. Then the partnership happens with whomever is putting on the tournament, or the partnership happens with whatever park district would be. But again, when the opportunity happens for people to see ministry, to see things that are happening, you don't even have to call it a small group for Christ. You can just call it, especially what we're going through now, you can just call it a small group for getting through the pandemic. Or when the pandemic, and prayerfully, by the July or so, we'll be in a different place. As we move through the pandemic, you can have a small group that's helping people get through the pandemic. So what's next? You might not even center it on Christ. There certainly would be a Christ conversation that comes from that. So that would fall under neighborhood associations, parks. There's a host of things out there developing partnerships with that, again, help us to fulfill ministry. Y'all, church is not going to be the way that it used to. I'm going to talk more about this in my next seminar on vital worship, that our mission field is much different than it used to be. Because everything is readily at hand for persons, everything happens with a swipe. People aren't ready to set aside time for anything in their life other than just simply the things that they want to do. And sometimes God tends to be the one that's left out. So we've got to think about different ways and methods. It's still the same message. How do we get it out to people to help our ministry become effective is what we have to think about. Anything else before we move forward? Get ready to talk about how we can help with finances.
We partner with the racetrack chaplaincy program at the local casino racetrack and provide backpacks for beginning of school. We do Christmas gifts. We do Easter baskets. We provide food for their food pantry because racetrack folk get paid very little or not at all.
Love it. Love it. Excellent opportunity. Excellent opportunity. All right. So here's the exciting part.
Okay.
So the question asks, how can financial institutions, how can a partnership financially help church? So here's one of the biggest ways to be able to do that. Create a 501c3 that's outside of the church. It increases the financial streams for church. Companies will give towards outreach opportunities for nonprofits that are not churches. So there are plenty of businesses and partners that have community outreach programs, that have financial donations set aside to help grow different areas or help bring about change in different communities. And so as you work to develop and create a 501c3, it's connected to the church, but it's named something differently, and it has a separate vision and purpose, accomplishes the same things that the church wants to do, but yet it's not connected to the church. So what do you mean by that? So let me explain what's happening at Impact. We are developing our phase 2A, which is our 50,000 square feet that we have on our property that we are developing to build out. The vision is to create a entity with a basketball gym, with thematic spaces and co-working spaces that provide meeting space, to provide an outdoor garden and greenery space and a culinary kitchen or commercial kitchen that then will help with culinary arts. We determined from a feasibility study in our area that the gaps that our community needs are workforce readiness, education, and healthy living. And so as we've determined the vision and we determined what we want to do, determine the gaps to fill, determine what our secret sauce is going to be in helping address, then we'll determine who we want to execute, determine what the partner will be. So this vision is all about the 501c3. So as we create the 501c3, that opportunity will be able to go out and fundraise. This is how the financial institutions, this is how finances can be given back to the church outside of tithes and offerings. This is how financial institutions can then find a place where they can utilize their funds for community outreach that are not connected to the church because it's a separate entity. And so what it does is create a different stream of income that will then help ministry happen. So what do I mean by that? The 501c3 that we've created at Impact, we're going to establish, use the I-Care method to establish partnerships, conversations, build relationships with partners that are able to have funding assistance. And then we're going to make an ask of them to then provide financial support for our 501c3. So I'll give an example. Chick-fil-A, we all know about Chick-fil-A. They have an extended opportunity for an outreach, but yet as that outreach, you have to be a 501c3 and not a church. So we were trying to, they have a program that they give funds to communities that are trying to help provide employment to people in the area. And we have fit that, but we didn't have a 501c3. And so we have relationships with persons that work within the Chick-fil-A Foundation, but we weren't able to apply for the grant because we weren't a 501c3. Now that we have a 501c3 established, now we have an opportunity to now apply for this grant. Now, there's a lot that goes into a 501c3 in creating the vision, creating the gaps, creating how you will execute it. There's partners or persons you build relationships to create the board, persons that you build relationships to then create how it's going to run. So there's a lot that goes into it. But here's the great thing, guys. It provides an opportunity to request funding that's not connected to the church. Anybody want to share any thoughts or questions about that?
Reverend, I have a question. In establishing this separate 501c3 and approaching a funder, did you encounter a 2 or 3 year waiting period after having organized before they would fund you?
Well, so that's a great question. So that goes into as you determine the vision and you determine how you want to execute it. We utilized a company that does just that. They help you prepare your vision for fundraising. And so the 2 to 3 waiting period was not with the companies in waiting and for them waiting for the ask. The 2-year period has been with us in developing all of our ducks in a row, putting our vision together so that we have everything in place for what to ask for a company. So in other words, we consulted with a company that specializes, again, here's a partner within a partner. We partnered with a company that specializes in how to ask for funding, that specializes in helping 501c3 nonprofits get funding. And so this company then helped us create our vision and our strategic plan to then get us ready to then go make the ask. So to answer your question, there's a preparation period, which then helps you prepare through the I care method in getting your vision together so that now you are ready to then make the ask for whatever you determine the capacity is that persons have to give. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or thoughts about that? This, y'all, is as I've learned is what all churches should be able to try to work towards to help our financial streams, because it's a great opportunity to generate income for all those companies that have outreach programs that don't affiliate themselves with a church, because it wouldn't be, it's as impact then creates the opportunity for funding. It won't be impact asking for the funds. It will be our 501c3. But again, it directly helps the ministry of the vision that we are trying to accomplish. Let me just ask, has anybody been working on a 501c3 before in your ministry setting?
We have
This is
in
Gloria
our
from the Homes-
district an organization we call Lumina, which is basically supported by all of the churches in the district. So it enables little tiny churches and big churches to both participate in outreach programs that we do in the community, children and youth, and we do nutrition programs and food supplies and all that sort of thing that most community or most churches wouldn't be able to do on their own. So it's worked wonderfully for us.
Okay, so imagine, Susan, if individual churches, that sounds like a great program, but imagine if we combine that or in addition to that, individual churches work to then provide their own 501c3. Mm-hmm. Because then again, it provides that great opportunity for financial resources. Now, I'm going to, we're going to be doing a series that goes on for the rest of this year, which I'm going to unpack that a little bit more about how to create and steps to create a 501c3. But the first part in determining your vision and finding the gaps that you want to do, as you learn the capacity of those petition, people want to know, okay, exactly what their money is going to, what their donations are going to be used for. And so you always have to be prepared to be strategic and, well-grounded in, how you present to them exactly what, donations are going to be used for. And exactly, here's where partnerships come in. We've had a decided impact. There's some things that, so impact is the umbrella that owns the 501c3. And then the 501c3 essentially will lease out space from the church, but they're all connected. So we've had to be able to say, to then partners, this is what we can offer you, and this is what we're looking for you to offer us. So to your point, Sister Stovall, it's a process that then, we're creating this as we go along to then build to the point to when you're ready to start the 501c3.
Pastor Paul, there was a great question that was listed in the chat from Pastor John Coleman, and I don't know if you saw that question, but he asked how did you research community needs and gaps to fill? And then someone else responded to that. Yes, and it all relates to, just pulling this together as well. Because I know at Midtown Parish, we did a community survey. And we actually went to different locations. We had a list of questions, and that's pretty much how we were able to gather some information as far as it's in a community where we just, went out and had a survey and, got some information that way.
Right. So there's two major things that we did. Great question, John. Thank you for following with that, Millicent. Two things that we did. One was we partnered with United Way. And remember when I said you think about a partner that's already doing work that you would like to do. So United Way already does a feasibility study of our area. And so we were able to then get the documentation of that feasibility study for our East Point Tri-Cities area, which in Georgia where we are, the Tri-City area is 3 different cities, Hateville, East Point, and College Park. And so that makes up the Tri-Cities area. And so we were able to get the feasibility study from United Way, which then lists the things that our community needs. Then the second thing that we did is we had meetings with city government. We established a relationship with each one of the 3 mayors for those cities. And then we asked them, what are the gaps? What are they finding are the greater needs in the community? And then the third thing is, to your point, Melissa, we did community canvassing with our own partners, with our neighborhood associations. We asked them, hey, can we have some families that we can talk to and ask them, what does the neighborhood need? In our building of relationships, what we've done with the partners is, with our neighborhood homes, is we did a Christmas gathering in the neighborhood. We did our summer lunches in the neighborhood. And part of those interactions and building relationships helps us learn what was happening in the community. The other thing that we did that was helpful, this will be the fourth thing, but this is along community canvassing. As you talked about, and Julie, I think you mentioned about being residential, in your neighborhood associations, we've joined the Facebook neighborhood associations so that we are part of their posts, we're part of their feed, we are part of interacting with them. So then that's a way that they see the church as part of those that are following them on their Facebook page. We also, in the city government meetings, between our clergy staff, we've separated the year in attending each one of the city government meetings. And most times, Pastor Keffer, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, most times this is that listening time where you just come into the city council meeting and listen. Sometimes they ask us to be part of their the opening prayer. So all of those 4 things that are listed then helped us develop and find what gaps are in the community. And so I'll share with you what that has happened when we began our design stage of phase 2A that I talked about. One of the things that we had was a dignity space. And as we mentioned dignity space, as we were sharing the vision, we got a lot of people that was like, wow, that's neat. And it was great to hear that, what a dignity space would do. Well, after we looked through the feasibility study, after we had our conversations, a dignity space that provided clothes for persons to wash or provide an opportunity for people to come and sit, it's a great thing, but that wasn't the gaps that are really in our area. The gaps that are really in our area are workforce, preparing people for work, preparing people for careers. We have a lot of homes that are medium to low income. That's because persons are working 3 and 4 jobs and not able to work in a career that's going to give them a better sustainable income. So then we had to make a decision. Do we work on a design for a dignity space, or do we work on a design for a culinary or a commercial kitchen, which in turn will then help people find employment in the culinary arts? And so then that helped us make a decision about what's important. So then that goes back to your vision, that goes back to determining what your gaps are. So then that can help you determine which partners will be effective in ministry. So then we don't spend time trying to find persons that will be able to provide hygiene materials for the dignity space. Not that it's not it's still a good thing, but it's not where we would focus our energy because that wasn't part of the gap. So those 4 things, a combination of all of those help build us relationship and hear what is in the community. And interesting, as you asked about the process, that process has changed as we've gone through it, and we've had to make adjustments and pivots because we've learned differently on what the community needs. Does that answer your question, John?
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. That's really a lot of great stuff. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Well, we've got about 9 minutes. I want to show you a couple of more slides that I have here, and then we'll have an opportunity to, there we go. There we go. All right, so partnership, filling in the pieces. What this morning was about, and hopefully this has been helpful. It's been an exciting time for Impact over these past several months, over this past pandemic season, of being able to make adjustments and shifts in ministry, especially by the way of strategic partnerships, to then help us make clear what we're trying to address in ministry and how we can find all of the partners that are available around us. And then we've been able to find means to then help the partners then address what we would like to do. To answer your question, Carmen, again, about persons coming to us, we've had opportunities for grants that came to us because of people seeing, what has happened in ministry. That's another income stream that as you build relationships with partners, you end up finding grants that are out there that you had no idea that you could apply for. That there's some grants that you could apply for as a church. There's some grants that global ministries have. There's some grants that action ministries have. And there's some grants that you have to have a 501c3 that's not connected to a church to apply for. And so we have been able to set up our ministry in a place that we can provide great financial resources and great opportunities, for our ministry that we hadn't had before because of creating the 501c3 and because of, if you remember from the earlier part of our presentation, it's about determining what is God calling you to do in your context. And again, I want to mention that as I've been and Pastor, Keffer has talked about being in different ministries, the great opportunity that has provided for me is to see how it can work, whether you're a small church or whether you're a large church or whether you're a medium-sized church. There are a host of opportunities of people that are out there to then begin building your relationship with that ultimately can then help you be very effective in ministry. Let me ask, has this been helpful?
Very.
Wonderful. I encourage you all to dream. I encourage you all to think about, again, what God is calling you to do in your context. I encourage you to know that that we are one body, and there's many parts that are out there outside of our body of Christ that is able to help us. And I want to, before we close, I want to go back to this slide here. I want to go back to this slide here, and I just want you to again see all of these persons have provided different opportunities to happen in ministry that have been able to help impact be successful. And there's several that I hadn't mentioned in here. There's a nonprofit called Tools for Ministry, and family, if you go to Tools for Ministry in Atlanta, it's like going into a Lowe's or a Home Depot that exploded. There's a whole list of things that are available. And for a membership fee of $100 a year, you can go in, and whatever you need for different events or different ministry moments, you can go into there and list all that you want. And then the fees are very minimal because of your, membership fee. And so that you can, so we, during our outside worship experience, our drive-in, we've been able to have heaters provided so that our praise team can sing under the heaters, so that we can put the heaters on stage so that those preaching will have a warm spot. We've been able to provide that because of things like Tools for Atlanta. And so they approached us because of the things that they've heard about that are happening at Impact. And so what I wanted you to notice about this again is you don't see anywhere in here the congregation of Impact. You see everything in here of different entities around that we've been able to partner with. Each one of them, as you think about our guide of how to create the partner and how to walk through your decision plan, each one of them has different methods that they've provided us in ministry. And it's been great experiencing the partnerships and how we've been able to do it, outside of tithes, offerings, outside of our volunteers. We've been able to help volunteers feel like it's been helpful more so than anything else, that they didn't have to do anything with. They can focus on other things in ministry, and then we can do the things as we've listed that have been quite helpful for us. It is 10:28, y'all. I'd like to pray for you all. And I will make sure that Lindsay gets the deck so that she can send it out to you. And also, I'll tell you what, I have the list of all those that are registered. I can send it out. I'll have my admin make sure that I send it out. If you don't get it, let me put my email in the chat here. And
while you're doing that, was there an event that was coming up related to the 501c3 that you mentioned that you was going to be taking part of?
No, the event I mentioned is I'm gonna work with the Pennsylvania Conference in an extended strategic planning over the next year. That's what I was speaking of. Well, I'll be going more into depth in creating a 501c3 and how to make that work for the church. Okay. Let me pray for you. God, we thank you for each one of all those that are gathered on. We pray for each one of their ministry contexts, Lord, and what you are calling them to do. God, I pray that they will find this area of partnerships as something more that they can dream about, God, how to really transform lives, even more than they're already transforming lives, God, where it gives all persons here an opportunity to stretch ministry, an opportunity to dream, an opportunity to believe, God, in the power that you give us to make things happen and change our kingdom. So bless each one of them in their ministry settings, God. Bless each one of them in the rest of the day as we carry on in this opportunity to be in these sessions, and as we continue to learn from each other. build from one another, enhance our life with you, and be able to enhance others in their life with Christ, God. We honor you and we thank you. It's in Christ's name that we pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen.
God bless y'all. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.